Hey everyone, welcome to the investor.bet AFL preliminary finals betting preview. We've got two games coming up on Friday night, Geelong against Hawthorn, and then on Saturday, late afternoon, 5:15, Collingwood against the Brisbane Lions. In this video, I'm going to preview both games. We're going to go through statistics. I'm going to go through who I think is going to win each game and how I'm approaching betting on them, and give you all the betting information you need to know to make the best decisions on each of these games. Quickly looking back at last week, Hawthorn eliminated the Adelaide Crows in straight sets. So Hawthorn's come through the elimination final against GWS in Sydney, then travel over to Adelaide and beaten the Crows by 34 points. Brisbane Lions, who lost their opening game in the first qualifying final against Geelong, bounced back and beat the Gold Coast Suns at the Gabba by 53 points. Both these were pretty dominant wins. Hawthorn won as the underdog, Brisbane won as the favourite, and kind of results as per expected. Going into this week's games, we have Geelong as favourites over Hawthorn and Collingwood as favourites over the Brisbane Lions. So the two teams that went through winning their qualifying finals games have come up favourites here. The MCG is kind of a neutral venue for Geelong and Hawthorn, and obviously Collingwood, the MCG, home against the Brisbane Lions. Over the years, when we get to semi-final, prelim final time especially, I've won a lot of bets on favourites, and these games have quite often been pretty predictable ones where the favourite does look extremely hard to beat. Definitely don't think that's the case this year. I give both underdogs extremely strong chances of winning each of these games. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Geelong Cats against Hawthorn Hawks. Geelong $1.58 minus 9.5, and the total is 164.5. Geelong, they've won 6 of the past 7 versus Hawthorn and covered 4 in a row. Last time they met, Hawthorn, well, it was $1.93 a side. Hawthorn had the minus half a point handicap, and Geelong were the slight outsiders, but it was basically a pick'em. Geelong won that game by 7 points, and the game last season, back in round 17 at GMHBA, Geelong won as $1.56 favourites, 110-59. As it currently stands, Geelong are definitely the team to beat of the 4 remaining sides, and I think the winner of this game is going to be the team to beat in the grand final. If Geelong go through, they're going to start favourite and clearly be the team to beat against Collingwood and Brisbane. If Hawthorn would win this game, then I don't think they're going to start favourite against Collingwood. The game against Brisbane, it'll just be out, pick them $1.90 either way. But I think Hawthorn will be the team to beat against the other games. So this is going to be the crucial one, and I'm going to set up most likely the team that's going to win the premiership. Geelong have won their past 4 at the MCG. Hawthorn have won their past 3 there. Geelong come into this with the 1 week break after winning their qualifying final against the Brisbane Lions, who, if you go back through and you just take a look at the form prior to that, had beaten Hawthorn by 10 points in their final game of the season. So you do have that form line through Geelong, having played Brisbane and now having to play Hawthorn, and Brisbane playing both of these teams. Off that, you would give the credit to Geelong, but Hawthorn, even though they haven't had that rest advantage that Geelong have had, and they've had to go up to Sydney and they beat GWS, and that was a game they controlled for the most part. GWS surged in the third quarter, and then Hawthorn were able to run out winners in the fourth quarter. The game against Adelaide, Hawthorn got off to a really strong start. Adelaide came back and kicked 3 goals shortly after, and then from there, Hawthorn dominated the rest of the game and won all 4 quarters in the end. Now, off that recent form, if you go back to the meeting around 6 this year, there was only 7 points between the two sides, so not really a great deal. Going into that round 6 game, Geelong were coming off a win against the Crows. Both teams played in Adelaide that week, and Hawthorn were coming off a loss against Port Adelaide by 30 points. But Geelong had 11 days rest going into that Easter Monday game. Hawthorn only had their 8 days rest, so it was a +3 rest advantage for Geelong, which is similar. They're going to get even more than that here. But they've also only had the 1 game across their past 3 weeks. They haven't really had as much game time. Aside from the win against Brisbane as well, Geelong had, for the most part, been playing low-ranked sides for at least the final third of the season, if not a little bit longer. The only team they played through their final 8 games of the regular season that made finals was GWS, who obviously Hawthorn comfortably eliminated, and that was also the game that Geelong lost. They lost that 111-85 at NG Stadium. So off of that, do think Geelong have that little bit of a team that beats up on the lower ranked sides, and if the a good team plays 4 good quarters against them, then they can be vulnerable. If we have a quick look at that game earlier this season, where Geelong won by 7 points. They kicked 12 goals, 14, so 26 scoring shots. Hawthorn had 24 scoring shots, 11 goals, 13. So just over a goal between them. You see on the timeline there, Geelong led for the most part. They kicked 3 goals in a row late in the first quarter, early in the second to establish just over a 20-point lead. Hawthorn got it back under a goal, and then they also leveled it up in the fourth quarter, but Geelong kicked the final goal of the game to end up winning the match. Stats-wise, Hawthorn had significantly more of the ball. They also led the inside 50s by +9. So just that efficiency going forward by Geelong was the difference. Clearances, very little between them overall. Hawthorn did win the centre clearances. Geelong slightly better around the ground. Turnovers both in the 50s, but both below their average. So neither team gave the ball away easily and were punished due to that. So I think this is going to be a really close game with Hawthorn at the +9.5. I've seen +10.5 floating around. My current thoughts approaching betting on this game is Hawthorn with the plus handicap, so +10.5 or even more if we can get it. Taking either side in the try bet to win by 1 to 24 points. I do think this is going to be a couple of goal game either way. Can't really see it being a great deal more than that, but definitely lean with the value with Hawthorn. I think the odds should be a little bit closer. I just don't, like, as much as Geelong have been winning games by big margins, I don't think they have the strength of that form overall. There's a big difference between beating teams like Essendon by 40 points and Port Adelaide by 90 points, Richmond by 40 points, compared to playing these top sides. If Geelong plays similar to the way they did against Brisbane and Hawthorn, have a bit of a letdown in this game, then Geelong are obviously going to be winning. But I think both teams are going to be up for it. Historically, this is a big rivalry matchup as well, and should be one that is very close. So best options, try bet, either team 1 to 24 or Hawthorn with the plus handicap. The total is 164.5. 4 of the past 5 head-to-head have gone over the total points line. Generally, in a regular season match, I'll be leaning towards the overs here, but probably will stay away from the total. I don't really do too much total betting in finals. Usually, if I am going to bet, it's going to be when I'm going to take the unders and refrain from taking too many overs this time of year. Geelong ranked the number 2 attacking side, averaging 105 points a game. Hawthorn ranks 7th, averaging 89 points a game this season. But Hawthorn are the slightly better defensive side of the two. So obviously, there's no doubt Geelong should be favourites. I just think they're a little bit too short at $1.58. And if Hawthorn can win the clearances, win around the stoppages, like they were able to at least match Geelong, if not do a little bit better than them earlier in the season, and they were able to win the inside 50 count on the back of that, if their defense holds up like it has over the last couple of weeks against GWS and Adelaide, then they're in with a real shot here. As this season, Adelaide ranked 3rd in attack in points for, and GWS ranked 5th. And Hawthorn have done pretty well at shutting them down over the past couple of weeks. And even the game against Brisbane in the final game at the Gabba, Brisbane were very inaccurate, to be fair, but they only got those few goals late, which allowed them to end up winning the game. So Hawthorn, if their defense can hold up, I think they can minimize this Geelong attack, particularly if there's not the ball just coming in over and over down that end of the field. And that's part of the reason, like, if I had to back the total in this game, as much as these teams do have points in them, particularly Geelong, I'd lean towards the unders, particularly this being a prelim final as well. Collingwood against Brisbane. Collingwood $1.70 -6.5, and the total is also 164.5. The bookmakers have done the same thing as last week. They said identical totals for the games last week from what they closed at. We've got identical totals for these games this week as well. Collingwood, they've won 4 of the past 5 against Brisbane. They've split the meetings this season, and it was the away side winning both of them. Back in round 6, Collingwood won 105 to 53 at the Gabba. Going into that game, Collingwood had won 4 in a row: Port, Western Bulldogs, Carlton and Sydney. And obviously coming from the Adelaide Oval, and Brisbane coming into that game, they had won all 5 of their games and were coming off a 21-point win against the Western Bulldogs, and Collingwood gave them their first loss of the season. They met again in round 21. Brisbane is $2.68 outsiders, 92 to 65. Going into that game, Brisbane were coming off a bit of an embarrassing 66-point loss against Gold Coast on the Gold Coast. They were in a back-to-back road situation, similar to what Collingwood were in the game in round 6 earlier in the season. And Collingwood, going into that game against Brisbane in round 21, were coming off a 36-point win against Richmond. Now, with the current, there's not really that much between them. When you've got a market $1.70 to $2.18, there's very little between the two sides, and we can gather that from looking at the stats of these two teams as well. Attack-wise, Brisbane's slightly better attacking side. Their numbers just overall in terms of attack and also efficiency going forward, slightly better, but neither side's super efficient going inside 50. They're ranked both in the bottom half of the league for goals per inside 50, and Collingwood still stand as the number one defensive side in points conceded, but Brisbane not all that far behind, only averaging a few more points conceded per game. Firstly, looking at the two matches this season, the one back in round 6, Brisbane 7 goals 11 to 16 goals 9. Spoken about previously, the Gabba hasn't been as strong of a venue this year as it has been previously for Brisbane. This was a game that was fairly close right to the midpoint of the third quarter. Then Collingwood went on a run, kicking 5 straight goals to push the lead out to just under 50 points. And then they also kicked 3 of the final 4 goals of the game to get to that 52-point margin. Stats-wise, very similar disposal numbers, but Collingwood plus 14 inside 50s, and they kept the lines to just 37 entries. I will see how that compares to the game at the MCG. Plus 10 overall clearances, plus 6 at the centre, plus 4 at the stoppages to Collingwood. Both teams only made 45 turnovers, so extremely low numbers. 116 marks for Brisbane, that's very good. Then the game at the MCG, Brisbane 14-8, 22 scoring shots to 10-5, 15 scoring shots for Collingwood. Collingwood kicked the first goal of the game. Brisbane followed that up with the next 3 and also 5 of the next 6 goals. Collingwood went on a run here in the second quarter. That's where they played their best quarter of the game. During that quarter, they scored 31 points to Brisbane just the 2 goals and were able to get back in front of that stage. But a goal there to Logan Morris put Brisbane back in front at halftime. The first 2 goals after the break and 4 of the next 5 goals of the game allowed Brisbane to establish about a 3-goal lead that they took into three-quarter time, and then they were able to hold that, kicking 20 points to 12 in that final term. Stats for this game, only 291 disposals for Collingwood. I think that'll be really what Brisbane are looking for again in this game. They're very good at limiting disposals for the opposition. Collingwood not so much. So if Brisbane can get the majority of the ball in this game, they should be hard to beat. Inside 50s plus 3 to the lines. Clearances plus 17, and majority that was all at the stoppages. 38 to 22, so a real dominance around the ground. Turnovers were both even in the mid-60s, marks inside 50 both even as well. A quick thing about this game, Lachie Neale had 36 disposals. He's not going to be there for this game. The responsibility really falls on McCluggage, Dunkley, Ashcroft to get plenty of the balls, similar to what it was last week against the Gold Coast Suns. Even without Lachie Neale, I definitely give Brisbane a strong chance of winning this game. The underdog has won the past 4 in this matchup and also covered the past 5. So we know there's very little between the two teams. And when you see trends like that with the underdog winning previous matches, it shows that just because one team is expected to win, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be the side that wins the game. At plus money, similar to the Hawthorn game, I do Brisbane here. And we just have question marks on Collingwood's overall form. Leading into finals, they lost 5 of their final 7 games. Then their win in the first week of the finals against Adelaide definitely hasn't proven to stand up, especially considering Hawthorn came out and comfortably beat them the following week. If you look through the last 2 months for Collingwood, a 36-point win against Richmond, a 6-point win against Melbourne, and then the win over Adelaide. That form really not looking great to win a prelim final, whereas Brisbane, their form leading into this game, prior to the finals, wins over Hawthorn and Fremantle, and then they've lost to Geelong, but gone up and beaten Gold Coast at home. And probably one of the big things for this game, with it being at the MCG, we know Brisbane had a terrible record there for a number of years, but they've now won 5 of their last 6
at the MCG, and one of those losses was the 2023 Grand Final. So that's the only game they've lost of their last 6 matches at the MCG. Collingwood, they've lost 3 of their past 5 at the MCG. So I don't think that the venue is going to hold any fears like it did previously for this Lions team, and I think they're a really big shot. If Geelong come out and are dominant winners over Hawthorn, and when I say dominant winners, they win by 4, 5, 6 goals, I think that's an even stronger tick for Brisbane here. But even at this stage, definitely happy going the way of the Lions as the underdog. I think this game should be at best $1.90 either way, and basically be a pick'em. So with Brisbane at this 215, 220 kind of range, they're the way that I definitely want to go. So like Hawthorn with the handicap, or try bet in the opening game, and then Brisbane with the +6.5, or just straight on the money line in the Saturday night game. Really exciting, both of these games. I'm really looking forward to them, and then I'll see who goes through to the 2025 Grand Final. There'll be a betting preview for that game. We'll go through the trends, we'll go through some of the stats, everything you need to know. I'll also cover some more prop markets and that kind of thing for the Grand Final. It's a super exciting time of year right now, like September, October, such a good year, a good time of the year for sports. We've got AFL finals, NRL finals, the American football NFL season got underway a couple of weeks ago. Tomorrow is week 3 of that. The NBA starts in a couple of weeks, NHL starts, MLB season's coming towards, playoffs as well. Then obviously September is spring, the beginning of spring racing, all the high quality races every Saturday. We've got better races on the Wednesday as well. Spring Carnival, horse racing, September, October, November. Such a good profit opportunity. If you are betting on horse racing, I definitely would check out the racing show. That's where I post everything I'm betting on the horse racing, and also share with you why I'm making those bets over the past 4 years of the racing show. So prior to that, I bet racing full time for about 9 years, and then in 2021, October, I started sharing what I was betting and the reasons why. Since then, members have made over 1,700 units. To calculate what that is in dollars, just multiply whatever your average bet size is, whether it's $20, $50, $100, multiply that by 1,730, and that'll tell you how many dollars you would have made from horse racing in the past 4 years on the racing show. And all you have to do is, when you get the notification, log in and see what the bets are, and then go put those bets on your accounts. It's very simple and straightforward to follow. And you also get video previews similar to this one, where I go through the races that I'm betting in, and also a few races that I've chosen not to bet into, and share the reasons why behind that. So you're also learning and understanding the factors of what makes certain horses a bet and what makes other horses not a bet, why some races are races I want to bet into, why other races are races I don't want to bet into. So it's not only you're making profit, but you're also picking up skills and everything at the same time. On the website, you have the results of every single bet that's contributed to all those results over the year. So it's not just, we've made 1,700 units and these are the results for the past 3 months, or just for 2025. Every single bet since October 2021 is in there. It's about 6,500 bets. If you really want to, you can scroll through every single one of them. But you can also go through, see what the monthly results are. We average just under 40 units profit per month. And right now, if you join the racing show in September and stay a member throughout the Spring Carnival, then you get the 50 unit profit guarantee, which means if we don't profit at least 50 units, which is 50 times whatever your average bet size. So if it's $50 is your average bet size, 50 units profit is $2,500 profit. If we don't make at least that, or whatever that unit size is for you, then you get 3 months added to your membership completely free for new members. Such a good time to join the racing show and get that added benefit, and you're either going to make at least 50 units, or you're going to have that membership extended. And last year I did the exact same promotion, where if we didn't make 50 units, then you get 3 months free. During the Spring Carnival, we finished on 49.5 units. So half a unit of what the target was. So everyone who was eligible for the profit guarantee got their memberships extended right through the summer. They got December, January, and February. And during those 3 months, we made over 125 units profit. So across the 6 months where you only had to pay for, because we fell that half a unit short, then it's 175 units profit. Somebody who started with 100 unit bankroll now had 275 units across that period. So we'll see how we go this year. There's still plenty of time to join, get involved, and make those 50 units profit. It's been a little bit of a grind so far. We've had a lot of second placings and that kind of thing for the first couple of weeks. But that kind of thing doesn't really continue on. It doesn't stay around for long. And usually after a period where we're breaking even, then there's those big shoot-ups and profit weeks where those close seconds and photo finishes that went against us now start going our way and horses start to win easier. Just kind of the pattern of the way it goes. So definitely check it out. But in terms of the AFL, I'm really excited for these games. If you have any thoughts on the games, feel free to put it in the comments below. I always love reading what other people's opinions are on the games as well. But it should be two really awesome games. Hopefully Hawthorn and Brisbane get over the line, as that's the way I'm looking at going at this stage. And if your team is still in the finals, then definitely good luck. Enjoy the games, and I'll see you guys in the grand final betting previews. Make sure you've got post notifications on that so you get that video as soon as it's posted.